Hey folks, it's Tom.
Hey, and I'm Shel. This is Curiously Climate, a podcast from Climate Central. We want to introduce you to something new that's hitting your stream, which is microclimate, where we talk about something that's happening in the weather right now that you can use in your conversations.
And we know that all of you are thinking about and feeling and dealing with the heat. But did you know this is also a huge climate change story?
Yeah,
Are
Tom,
you curious?
it's hot outside, man.
It's so hot. I'm sweating right now thinking about how hot it is outside.
Yeah, and there is a climate change piece to this. So one thing that I think we all know, if you talk about weather in any sort of way, shape, form, and then bring in some climate, Tom, what is the first thing that you're going to hear in your social media comments as soon as you talk about it?
It's hot because it's summer, Shel,
Yeah,
and
it's
summers
summer.
are hot.
It's July. It's supposed to be hot. And you know what, Tom? Not wrong. It is July. It is summer. It is supposed to be hot, but it's not supposed to be this hot.
Yeah, this is the thing. And in a non-warming climate, you'd expect to see about an equal number of heat records and cold records being broken, but that is absolutely not what we're seeing currently. Heat records are far, far outpacing cold records. It's just another example of the impact our warming climate's having on the extremes that we feel.
Yeah, not just heat records. We're talking like all-time heat records. So take on Sunday, July 12th. Salt Lake City hit 109 degrees. The records there go back to the 1880s. That's a temperature that has never been experienced in the city of Salt Lake before. So what that means is that this isn't the same kind of heat because it's literally heat that we've never experienced, at least in that location. Now, just to give you an idea, we can use this thing that we at Climate Central call the Climate Shift Index. It's our attribution science. The scale basically goes from 0 to 5 on the positive side. And so let's take just July 15th. People, when they walk outside, 107 million Americans will feel heat that was made at least 3 times more likely to occur, or more simply put, that has a very strong fingerprint of climate change to it.
It's not a fingerprint, it's like a whole handprint that you're seeing on that. And I know you know, Shel, but I'm sure other folks know that we at Climate Central have been tracking the impact of extreme heat on the World Cup so far, and we've seen that plenty since the World Cup started in June. We've seen, especially the games played in Miami, where we've seen incredibly hot and humid conditions going to Philadelphia as well. So we know the World Cup's coming to an end, but heat was definitely a story so far during the Cup.
Yeah. And so as we continue to go deeper into the summer, thinking about like, how do you make these stories connect to each other? Think about the places that are experiencing heat this week. It's the northern tier of the U.S., the upper Midwest, and eventually shifting over to the eastern U.S. Some folks have air conditioning because, yes, summertime is hot, but there's a lot of locations that are seeing record temperatures that either aren't used to running their air conditioner or just flat out don't have cooling conditions inside their home because historically they haven't needed them, right?
Yeah. And so when you see those stories and there's a photo of a kid or a child playing at the beach or in a fire hydrant, all the water, heat's incredibly dangerous. But of course, summer is known as a season of extremes. We have extreme heat somewhere. It usually also means that there is extreme rainfall somewhere else. And that is exactly what's happening now, too.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, if you want to get a little weather nerdy for a second. So high pressure systems, these heat domes, they have what's called a clockwise flow around them. And so what's happening underneath this heat dome from the Carolinas to Texas, we've got this stalled front. So that's the mechanism to create rainfall. But we also know warmer atmospheres hold more moisture, which means that when you get the right mechanism to unlock that moisture, you can get heavier rainfall. And so just take Lesterville, Missouri on Friday afternoon and evening. Over a foot of rain fell within just a matter of hours. And thankfully, unlike the Texas floods last year, but there was a summer camp where over 200 counselors and camp goers were rescued because of those floodwaters. And just to give you an example, St. Louis, Missouri, just over the past 50 years, as our atmosphere warms, as climate change has impacted rainfall, they've seen a 23% increase in terms of rainfall rates. So how fast the rain is falling from the sky, because we have more moisture. And because when you have more moisture, think about it like a bucket, that bucket tips, so more of that rainfall is going to come out. So 2 different stories, right? We've got heat on the northern tier of the U.S., a lot of rainfall, which typically in July is a good story for the southern U.S., but both of which are coming at this extreme that we know, not the main cause, but has a fingerprint of climate change tied to it to go along with it.
That's the key thing. We're not saying that you can't have a heat wave in the summertime. You're not saying you can't have extreme rainfall in the summertime. What we're saying, though, is that climate change is making those heat waves worse and making that heavy rainfall even heavier, which can have a whole sort of huge, huge issues caused for millions and millions of Americans.
Yeah, and if this topic leaves you curious, then do a little bit of Googling when you maybe get away from your phone into a computer. We've got multiple heat domes happening across across the world. One of which is the big story that's happening in Europe and the EU, also underneath the historic heat dome. So again, yeah, just a little bit. If you're telling the weather story here about what is happening in the United States, just remember that climate change has a role and is part of that story.
And we're seeing this heat signal across the entire planet right now. The United States is not alone in this. But yeah, it's a pretty wild time. So make sure you're paying attention to that latest weather forecast too.
Okay. So for this latest episode of Curiously Climate, Microclimate Edition, I'm Shel.
And I'm Tom.
And we'll catch you back on the next episode of Curiously Climate.